Roy, what's up? It's been a
Hey,
while,
good.
man.
Yeah, it has been a while. How are you, Kobe? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I mean, if memory serves, you're from Belgium, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we haven't seen each other in what, 2012, right? That's when we did basic
Um,
training.
I think so. I think so. Wow. I don't remember that. It's been such
You don't
a
remember
long
me?
time.
Oh man.
No, no, I do remember when we saw each other last time. That's what I meant.
It must have been
But
then.
yeah, I guess so.
Where
Maybe.
where did you end up serving in the army?
When or where?
Where?
Where? So my army service was in Kfir in
What's
Khartoum.
that?
It's anti-unit, anti-terror unit. Um,
Anti what?
Anti-terror unit.
Terror.
It's yeah, that's
Oh
what we
wow.
did for like 3 years.
Wait, what does that
Basically,
mean? Like, what does that mean in practice?
it means that we stop and we arrest terrorists on basically every night in their homes, and
Oh wow.
we're training for that for like a year and a half, and then or a bit less, and then we do that for like almost every night. The
Wow.
coming year and a half, and yeah, bad people. We
What? I
don't
mean,
win.
you were doing that almost every night? There was that
Almost every night.
much activity.
Oh, yeah. Most of them
Holy shit.
are bad people, but some of them are people who are on our side, and they are scared that their undercover went down, so
Mm,
they want people to think that they are on their side.
right.
So I believe I can't talk, more about whatever happens there. So mostly bad people, mostly bad people.
But
I
that's, I
believe.
mean, that's, I guess I should never be surprised or shouldn't be surprised anymore, but I'm kind of surprised to hear that that happened almost every day. That's wild.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. There are many people, many bad people out there, and I mean, you can see today that we did so much work, and
Yeah.
still, um, whatever happens in Jenin, in Ramallah, my service was in those places. I didn't serve in Gaza. I served for like
Yeah,
maybe like
honestly.
Gaza.
Yeah.
Um, and there are many bad people because we arrest them and then they get released afterwards, and then we put them back in, and then they
Yeah.
get back in because that's how Israel works.
Do
Unfortunately,
you, do you, I mean, when you go and when you arrested these people your, in your service, did you like have a sense that these guys were up to no good? Did you feel these guys?
um, we never knew what they did, so we only got like a mission to take them down and put them in jail.
Yeah.
They didn't want us to know what they did because the less we know, the better. We just
Mm,
take commands and we just know that at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. that night, we're going in a specific house with specific people with different units and putting them away. Um, we sometimes understood that they're more important people, and sometimes we understood that they did less of a crime.
yeah.
Uh, Depends on what kind of house they lived in.
Right.
And if they had, yeah, and if they had people guarding their houses or not. So we understood who we were
Right.
taking down, the chashivut, the importance of
Important. Yeah.
their status, but we never knew what they did. So,
So sometimes you had to go into houses that had guards. How?
um, yeah, I mean, guards that are guarding their houses or guards that are guarding their neighborhood. Um, I don't get too much into it,
Oh, Jesus.
but yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay. And when did you get out? When did your service finish?
I finished in 2013,
Okay.
February. That's like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
yeah, I mean, you started in 2010, right? as well.
I was with you, man. We were in the same
Yeah,
basic room.
right.
We were in the same, but we took different paths. But yeah, it's almost 11 years ago, man.
Yeah, that's
Okay, so you got
that's a
out.
while.
So you got out, and then did you have to do much reserve duty or?
To be honest, they didn't call us much. Almost never. To be honest, they had too many people doing it, so basically we got out of it until they called us back 3.5 months ago,
Wow.
telling us to we need you guys, and come south. That's what we
Wait,
knew.
so
We didn't know where we're going and what we
on
were doing.
October 7th, I mean, so you got a ring, so you're married. You have how many kids?
I have two kids, two babies.
Two kids. Okay.
One who is almost 3 years old, and one who is a year old this week. So two
Wow.
girls. So
Nice, nice. And a
yeah.
wife, of course, super important. And on
And
October 7th, so tell me about your October 7th. How was that for you?
so I was in Tel Aviv for Simchat Torah with friends, and then we hear alarms and sirens, and we don't really understand what's going on because who shoots at Simchat Torah? It never happened before. And then I go to the synagogue and try to ask what happened. So they told us it's a disaster, and I don't have to remind you what happened in October 7th. So it was
Yeah.
a really bad day, and I told my wife to open the phone because she went back home uh, to the place where we slept, and told her to open the phone in case they call me. But they didn't. They didn't call me. So it took a while for them to call me and some other people. So I
But you
was,
had a sense. You had a sense though that they were going to call you.
yeah, because I saw that he called a bunch of people, and we understood that it's a war this time and not a mission.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of thing. So I believed that they would call me. So I told him to open the phone, and I asked my commander if we would be called in, and he said no, not yet. And then days pass by, and a few weeks pass by, and then I get a call. In 2 days, you have to report to um, Machane Gada, what it's called, where we get all the stuff, and come to Saad. And that's how my journey started in the Middle East.
Did you? So I mean, what were you thinking and feeling all those days and weeks leading up to the call?
I was going crazy. I was going mad.
Really?
Because I wanted to be there. I have a family, and it's hard to. So I always told my wife and family that it's hard to be there. It's hard to be fighting there, but it's harder to be home and not doing anything.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be there missing the family. And I can't imagine what would happen if they would call me, and missing my kids and wife and work and life. Um, but it's harder to be home. It's harder to be home and not being called while everyone and most of my friends are fighting. So I wish they would call me earlier, and I'm happy that they did.
Yeah.
And so I passed coming the past weeks from October 7th until the day they called me by watching the news and working and hopping on calls with clients. And my mind isn't working, but my head is working. I need to work because I need to bring money in. I need to sign those
Yeah.
deals. And but my head is somewhere else. Is there,
Yeah.
and it's hard. It was really hard for me. I guess for everyone who didn't get called in the beginning, or for those who sorry, my itching. Um, for everyone, but for me specifically, it was very hard not to be called and seeing what I saw, what everyone saw on the news.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Did you? I mean, my experience. I think I had a lot of friends, guy friends, that shared that kind of guilt. That there's all this chaos and catastrophe and death, and it's not that it's in our name, but it is in a sense there to protect us, and we're sitting there kind of helpless. and we have this sort of this responsibility to do something about it, but we don't know what. I remember in the early days, people from like Jewish people from abroad who were, they also sense the gravity of what happened, and they're like, we want to help, but we just don't know how. And there's just a lot like this frantic energy of like, let's donate, or let's, I don't know, let's connect other people to other people. And I mean, you had the frustrating thing for you was like you had a specific thing that you wanted to be doing, right? Which is what I think most people would think was the only thing you could do, which is pick up a gun and go fight. And because that did seem like the only way to contribute. I mean, I know that's not true, but that just, especially for guys, that this was kind of it. But did you feel that, like, because we've had wars before, right? We had, like, when we enlisted in 2012 and 2014. Then we had, well, the next one was 2021, right? Like we've had a lot of these before, and never, certainly I never had this issue of like, oh Christ, what am I doing? How am I helping things here? But this time it was like it was just so big and so horrible. It felt like very threatening. Plus, also all the anti-Semitism that was going on in the world at the same time. That it was like, this is all my people, and I can't just abandon them. I can't just go back to normal life, and you know I don't know if you had the same feeling, or if it was different for you.
Um, it was different because I think it was different for everyone this time because I remember in 2014, when I forgot the name of the war of the we said
Right,
that we
there's so
had.
many of them.
Yeah, so there was a tough shmone, and I was bummed they didn't call me back then. But it was fine. But this time it was more because of whatever they did to us. They invaded the country. They, sorry for my language, they raped our women. They
Yeah,
killed, they slaughtered our babies. And as a dad, and even not as a dad, but as a dad of a kid, that there's fear that a baby, I don't even know if he's alive, but a baby who is my youngest daughter's age. I
yeah,
don't know what I would do if she would be kidnapped, God forbid.
right.
And whatever they did to us, and they mastered us, they just mastered us for hours upon hours upon hours. They were in Israel doing whatever they wanted. And I went, like, when I went to Miloim, they took us to Faraza for like a few hours to see whatever they did,
What
and
was that like?
it's unbelievable. It is. It's unbelievable. It's like words can't describe. I got pictures. Words can't describe. You can't. No matter how much you talk about it, you can't explain what happened there. I mean, you see houses, you see holes in televisions, you see holes in the wall, And you imagine there would be like a couple lying there in their bed, and just someone came in and shot her in their bed. You see an espresso machine with the cup still in, ready for the coffee to be, served in their mug. You
Crazy.
see clothes in their washing machine. You see lives that stop, at a
Yeah,
certain moment, stop. And I mean, nobody does that, Nobody does. Even when Israel attacked, to defend themselves, we always send letters and everything like, leave
yeah,
your house because we want to bomb your building because there's a terrorist, shooting from within your building. But this brings back to 1940, and to the Holocaust, like taking life from people who were just doing something before, and it's just crazy. So sitting in my home and seeing everyone fighting for their lives. I mean, I see it as, at least I saw it in the beginning, as a war for the existence of the country.
yeah,
Um, because it is, whatever happened is, if we would not be, sending them on time, they would continue to Tel Aviv and continue sending more and more people. And I don't know if we'll be talking today. I mean, I don't believe we would get to this stage, but it is of the existence of the country. And thank God
yeah,
that Hezbollah and Hamas didn't attack in the same time, because then it would be something else. Um, but I'm saying that it's a different kind of war this time, and it's the first time since maybe Kippur War or something like that, that we're fighting for existence.
Yeah.
and it's us or them. And that's why, I mean, so many people that were looking, until they called me looking to like contribute and serve and do something. So until they called me, I did other stuff. I went to the matnas and I brought water and I brought clothes and I brought food.
Yeah.
And but still, I'm like, I've trained 3 years for this, and I'm sitting in my home, you know. So
Yeah.
I went nuts. I almost couldn't sleep, because I wanted them to call me so badly. And whenever they
Wow.
call me, I felt like it's you want smoke from me. It's like, oh, I'm going. Where do you need me? Just tell me anything you need me to do, and I'll do. And yeah, but then it hit me that I'm actually not going to see my kids, and actually I might not even come back from this war. And it just stopped me, and I almost cried, and I stopped myself, and I'm like, all right, we'll be fine. Um, Whatever happened, I also believe that everyone has a date, so no matter what and when, you'll have your end date anyways, anytime. So if God wants me to come back alive, I'll come back alive, and I'll do so. And I know I did what I could for the country. And thank God I'm alive and well back
Yeah.
home. Started to get phone calls of getting back to Midoyim, which is
Yeah.
hard now. Yeah, like they're calling us back for like a few days. Some of my friends are being called for like a month. So yeah, it's not over
Wow.
at all. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I mean, so just to pick up on what you said, and I think you said it great. Like it just became personal, right? I mean, you mentioned the fear of the baby that's in us, like, and you have a kid more or less the same age, and the truth is that it could have been your kid because that was the whole point, right? The
Yeah.
the face, the name doesn't matter. It's the background and it's the story that's going on. And you're like, oh, you're Jewish? Okay, fuck you. You're coming with me. And I mean, again, as you said, when you were talking and describing Gaza, bullet holes in the TV, like, I'm sitting in my home right now, and if someone came and just shot me up just for being a Jew, um, that it's just a crazy invasion of my private space, the
Mhm.
one that I would never ever expect. But that's basically what was on the table. Like all of a sudden, Hamas not that they unmasked themselves because they were saying it all along. It's just the blinders came off for all of us. We're like, oh my god, they actually mean what they say, and it's true, right? They will actually go out here and try to kill every Jew, not just every Jew, right, but every Israeli, even because they killed Arabs too,
Everyone,
which is
Arabs, Jews, they kidnapped Arabs, and I mean, it doesn't matter for them. Every person living in this country. I even saw
right.
this footage of Hamas of stopping an Arab guy in his car. I guess he was like a worker or something, or
Yeah,
Druze, I don't know what he was. And he said, the Arab said, I'm not Jewish, I'm not Jewish, I'm not Israeli. And then
right,
they said, yeah, but you work for those dogs. And they shot him, and they don't differentiate between a Jew, an Arab, a Muslim, Druze, Christian. If you live in Israel, you're dead to them. So
yeah.
yeah, this is something the world doesn't understand, or understands but just is ignorant to actually comprehend, that no matter people, they don't care if we're left, right, Jewish, Christian, Muslim. They
Right.
just don't care. And and I wish that the world would. I'm sure they understand. I'm sure they understand. But I wish the world would take it into their mind, or just show that they understand it, and they understand what we're going through. 70 years.
Do
People
you? I
hating
mean,
us.
did you follow what people were saying in Belgium, where you're from, how it was covered
I
there?
mean, Belgium joined South African whatever circus you can call it. So I guess it says enough.
But they have a pretty substantial Muslim community in Belgium, right?
Yeah, very big
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Back in the day of the ISIS attacks, they all came from Belgium, from Brussels, from Molenbeek.
Oh, right. That's right. That's right.
That's where
Jesus.
the hub of ISIS at least was, until I believe that it still is. But yeah, Molenbeek, it's like an hour away from my home.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your family, your friends back there? How are they? How
Uh,
were they after October 7th?
I mean, we live in a ghetto. I mean, my parents made Aliyah in August, right before the
Okay.
war, and they got a very
Wow.
nice welcome package.
Welcome to Israel.
Yeah, kind of. But even though, I mean, I still have like some cousins and stuff, and friends who live in Belgium, and Antwerp is like it's like a ghetto, you know. You don't feel, only when you leave Antwerp, you go to the cinema and you still have your kippah on or
Mm,
tzitzit or the Hebrew. Then you start hearing like Dirty Jew. I did not hear anything in particular um, since the war started. I haven't asked, to be honest, too much
yeah.
because we're dealing with our shit in Israel. So I don't really care what happens abroad. Um, but from
Okay.
my understanding, it it never changed. I mean, there was always people hating us, but nothing, in particular happened since October 7th. I believe that there are protests like any other country in Europe and abroad, but nothing crazy, I would say. But
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a small community in Antwerp. We're surrounded by Jews and soldiers and police people, so they're safe for now. And I'm happy my family made Aliyah, so I don't have anyone else from my family living in Belgium anymore.
Yeah.
Just a few cousins that probably coming as well, and some friends, but I believe that they will leave as well.
Yeah.
Um,
But isn't that amazing? It's an amazing thing to say that you're happy that your parents live in a country that had thousands of rockets launch at its direction, and you're happy that they escaped. They moved away from the place that their security is what it's like. It's contingent on the on the help of other people, right? Of the state or something like that. Like there's something to the magic of sovereignty and self-defense that there's just nothing else that can replace it. And I think that that's also something very really hard for people who have a sort of a very critical eye towards Israel. That it's really hard for them to understand that wherever Jews go, we tend to have this stuff follow us, and the only way for us to not only just to deal with it, but to avoid it in general, is for ourselves to be armed and trained to be able to defend this kind of stuff against this stuff.
I mean, I
And
have
yeah,
a gun myself, so I have a gun at home, which I have for almost a year already, because
hmm
I have to defend myself because I live in Netanya, so um, like 20 minutes away, or even less, we have Kalkilia, and you have different um, Arab cities next to us. And my parents-in-law live in Shiloh, so I drive them once in a while. And it's like if you remember the attack in Eli in the gas station a few months ago. Anyway, it's like 5 minutes away from them. So it's
okay,
like it's important to be armed in Israel. It's important for the right people to be armed.
yeah,
But happy, going back to what you said, I'm happy that my parents are in Israel because abroad um, you're always, how do you call it, reliable on a foreign government. And if they
yeah,
like Jews, they'll be for you. If they hate Jews, they'll just do like this whenever anything happens against the Jews.
right,
In Israel, so we have rockets, fine. But we have an Iron Dome. But we have
yeah,
our army, and we have our government, left or right, that will always protect its people, no matter their
yeah,
political views. So Israel is definitely the safest place for Jews in the entire world. The
okay,
safest place, no matter. So yeah, you can make more money abroad, and yes, you can have different opportunities abroad. But you know what? We can depends on how much you spend. You can live very good in Israel with a decent, even if it's much less than abroad, your salary. But the
yeah,
safety that you have in Israel, no money can buy.
yeah,
No money can buy the safety that you get in Israel. Um, Israel is the safest country for Jews in the entire world, and I say it blindly. And yes, this morning another soldier died, and probably for the coming days, more and more soldiers will die, and probably if Hezbollah will start a war. If we'll start a war with Hezbollah, probably many soldiers will die, God forbid, but it still is the safest country for Jews in the
Yeah,
world because we are actually protecting ourselves. We're actually doing
and
what we
like
can.
for example, with you in Belgium, right? That has a large it has a large Muslim community there, and then within that, it has a substantial radical Islamic community as well. That if that problem continues to grow, if they continue to mount enough pressure on the government and they continue to threaten the Jews there, for example, at some like you are really at the mercy of the government having a stiff spine. Right? Like you could have a government that says, you know what, this is too much trouble. Let's just I don't know compromise with people who are radicalized and violent and aggressive and hateful, and that's all it takes for the situation for the Jews to become unbearable and untenable. Whereas again, if the Jews are in control of their own security, that there is no compromise with that. I mean, you see right now, Gaza is being laid to ruins for what they did, for what Hamas did, right? So there's a huge price to pay when you fuck with the Jews, right, in Israel. Whereas
Yeah.
in other countries, who knows, right? But so tell
So,
me, I mean, when you got called up, you said you had to stop yourself from crying, and but you felt that this is what you wanted, right? And tell me, what was your mind like? I mean, were you full of hate? Were you full of rage? Were you like what exactly? How were you preparing your mind to go into
um,
war?
so I didn't. Um, I just didn't. I just went with it and packed my bag and took a picture of my daughter in case I don't have any connection there. And I took a
Yeah.
book with me, and I took a spare battery so I can talk to my wife anytime I want, if I
Okay.
have any connection there. And I just went. I just because I knew that in situations like this, if you think you might or regret it or have a harder time going, so I decided I'm anyways going. So rather I'll be on D, in the car you have parking, neutral, and drive, and reverse. So I'll just be on D, drive, and just go there.
Okay.
And I was proud, but I was mostly proud. I was excited and proud.
Wow.
Uh, Putting my fears aside and putting like I could actually come back. Like many soldiers, I'll come back, and also I didn't know for how long I'm going. They just told me you're going on Wednesday. They called me on Monday and they said me on Wednesday. So first of all, they told me to come on Tuesday. I said I need a bit more time, pack my stuff and finalize some stuff at work, and tell my customer that I won't be available for the coming time. Um, so I need more than 24 hours. Also, I need my wife to be, kind of more relaxed instead of okay, I'm going now. I had the privilege of having another day, so I did that, and I was proud. I was excited and proud that I'm finally called up. I know many of my friends are still not being called up today. Not really
Hmm.
sure why. Maybe they're saving them for up north. I'm not sure why. But I was excited and I was happy and I was scared and it was a mix of emotions. And but I just went on D and I just did anything I needed and I just went through my bucket list what I need to bring. And I had to get a uniform because I only had a shirt and I had no pants and I had no belt. And I had to get finally from friends and stuff. And now I have like 9 pairs of uniforms in my closet. They're like that are mine, and so I just went with it and was happy and proud and spoke with my wife, of course, and calmed her down that it's what we need to do, and she understood. She understood, but she had a very hard time, but
Yeah.
she was a lion. She was
Yeah.
she
I
was.
mean, I mean, not only is her husband off the war, right, but even on the practical side, like you're raising two very small kids. If one of them wakes up in the middle of the night, that's all on her. Like she has no one to share that with.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
tough. But you do what you
Heads
got
up,
to do. So, So, and how did I mean, you said you were actually you were in Gaza, right? Mostly in the north, I think. Yeah.
So in the beginning, I was in the Otif in Saad, protecting. So our unit was in the beginning we were defensive, so guarding the whole border, Saad and Otif Aza and Kfar Aza and etc. etc. And then we
What
got a
does that
mission
mean?
to
Like, what defending against what?
defending for any future Arabs coming in or trying to attack to do again what they did, because Israel was scared in the beginning that it was not a once in a lifetime opportunity for them, and they'll try to infiltrate again the borders. So
Hmm.
many of the units were in the beginning defensive, guarding the border until we make sure that the border is safe and well. And then whenever we did that, our unit became uh, changed from defensive to attack. And
Okay.
then we started in Beit Hanun, which is up north of Gaza.
Wait,
Um,
how did you cross into Gaza? Like,
so by so my unit, what we did, I'll just tell you a bit of my what we did. My unit does.
yeah.
So we are called Yichsam. Yichsam is Yichidat Siyua Minaltit. So what we do is we protect convoys of getting into Gaza, bringing in different units, bringing in water, food supplies,
Mhm.
protecting the convoy, staying there for a while, and coming back. Because when people go into Gaza, you can take food for 24 hours max and water.
Mm.
So we need always people to go in and out, bring in stuff. So that's what we did for almost 2 months. Different areas in Gaza. So half of the mission was bringing in stuff in and out, and other half of the mission is staying in Gaza in case we need to take out injured people. So we were
Okay.
sitting in houses, we were sitting in cars, etc., etc. So how did we get in? By Hummers, by different big cars. Um, Open, very scary because it's like very attackable. It's just there is one RPG that there is missing one RPG that we would be dead. So it was very scary to go in and out on a daily
Je-
basis, like 20
Jesus
times.
Christ.
And they even showed us the footage of one of those convoys who were attacked by an RPG. And the
Why?
soldier was because they were driving too slowly and they were driving in daytime. And Hamas had a hard time seeing in the dark, but they have an easy time seeing during the day. And so one of those things that we learned was not to do those things during the day. And if we have to come in during the day, we do it fast because whatever when they shoot, they stand still and they wait for us to wait for for us to stand still for them to shoot. But if we're constantly driving back and forth, and then when we're going off or going into houses, they'll have a hard time aiming at us. So thank God I
Oh,
wasn't the one of those convoys who were attacked because it could have
oh my
been
God.
me easily. And the other part was sitting and waiting in Gaza for days, for a whole week, for a week sometimes, until something happens, and then you have to take people out, injured people.
Whoa. So they showed you that footage to drill it into your heads that don't go in the day, but if you have to go in the day, go really fucking fast. Otherwise,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
putting yourself at extreme risk. Oh my God. Wow. And that, I mean, Jesus, did that serve to sharpen your judgment? Did you have to do it during the day?
Um, it we were scared to see. We weren't happy to see, but we were happy to learn from it. We're not happy to see anyone die, but we're happy to learn from it, so it won't happen to us. And they
Mhm.
showed us different. For every few days, they send us in the WhatsApp group a video of what not to do because see what they did and cost their life. Um,
Wow.
yeah, different things. For example, I was on the Mag. Mag is like a big gun. For those who
Yeah.
don't understand, it's like a very big gun. So I was a magist on the Akhzarit, which is like a big tank. But that isn't a tank. I don't really know how to explain what an Akhzarit is. It's like a big car without the big rocket launcher from the tank.
Okay.
So I was there, and I didn't have a joystick. So if I would want to shoot, I would have to go up and show my head above and shoot. And then the one next to me told me, that a week ago someone did that and got shot in his head. So just for me to understand when to do it and when not to take my head out, and
Oh my.
yeah, so it's like you don't want to see those footages, but you're happy to see it, so you know what not to do and when not to do it.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, and sometimes we were doing it, and then we told the driver, "Drive now, otherwise we're going to be shot at." And yeah, thank God nothing.
Yeah. I mean,
Keep
just
on
in
saying
the
thank God nothing happened, because I was at least in like 20 times where I could have been dead. So afterward, like Bidiyavad afterward, like knowing and seeing those videos, I was like, okay, I could have been here, I could have been there. I walked so many times on above trash, and then they showed us videos how Hamas are putting bombs under trash, and you don't see anything because it just looks paper. And or once in the morning, they told us that they saw that Hamas came and put a bomb on a tank next to us, and they dismantled it on time. But just imagine it would go off, and we would wake up and walk out of the Akhzarit, and then you know the thing would explode on us. So
oh
so
my
many
God.
times people being shot or exploded or dead. And that's why I keep saying, thank God I'm alive, because it's not. I don't take it for granted at all.
Wow. Wow. I mean, did you ever have a did you ever feel like you had a chance to relax, or you were just constantly on alert? And
Um, you're constantly on alert. I mean, when I say constantly on alert, it's not like you're always like this, like with the gun here. Only when you're driving in and out, so you're with a gun to see that nothing happens. But you can't live 24 hours being on alert. So sometimes you
yeah.
sleep, and the one who is guarding is on alert. So most of the time we were on alert, but we were living our lives. We're actually living our lives in Gaza. It's like you sit in a house and you cook food in the kitchen that, a month ago or 2 months ago, there were like terrorists or whatever sitting here and cooking their own food, or hostages being, held in that house. And so it's crazy to say we lived our lives in Gaza. Um, just sometimes relaxing, and then you sit on the couch and you can't really be relaxed. You sit on the couch with your vest on, with your helmet on. You hear bombs, and you hear our air force attacking, and you hear our tanks attacking. So your body is in constant alert, even if you don't think so. And how do I
Mm.
know it? Because afterwards, when I came out of it and I went back to my life, whenever I saw a cloud, a white cloud, I saw a gray cloud. My my mind showed me a gray cloud of bombs in Gaza, and it's just a white cloud. So that's how I know that my body, now I see a cloud, but now that's how I know that my body was in constant stress, even though if I didn't understand that it wasn't stress.
Wait, I say that again. So now that you're out of Gaza, you see a cloud, you see a white cloud.
No, yeah,
Before,
now I see why. Now I don't see any bombs in the air, and I don't see any airplanes from the IDF when I see a regular plane. But the first week, me coming out with no
yeah,
vest and no uniform and nothing, when
yeah.
I saw like a bunch of clouds together, my mind showed me a gray cloud. And I thought I'm going nuts. Like, I see a white cloud. Why do I see a gray cloud? Because this is what I saw for 2.5 months in Gaza, going in and out on a constant basis,
Oh
living
my,
there for weeks. Um, And that's how I know that my body was in constant stress and living it, even though I slept, even though I ate, and even though I didn't think about it back in the
wow, wow. Did you have any contact at all with the enemy? Did you have any fights with
Um,
them?
they told us to shoot in, it's called Mekomot Chashudim, like different places. But you see next to you people shooting. So our mission was to shoot if needed, but our mission was to go in and out and bring stuff in or wait to bring people out. So, but I saw like 20 meters from me, soldiers shooting at Mekomot Chashudim. So it's like even if I didn't see anyone, they saw it, and when they see it 20 meters away from you, you can imagine seeing it as well.
Right. And I mean, I can imagine the instinct is to be like, "What are you shooting at, bro? What's going on over
Yeah,
there?"
it's
Right?
like you take a look and you're constant because it could like what they told us that Hamas likes to go to places where the IDF has cleared, has just been out of it, and it just ruins. And then they shot against soldiers from those destroyed buildings. So I'm like always in my mind, okay, this could be a place where they can shoot at me, and we actually heard Kalashnikov shooting at us. We didn't see anything, but we heard bullets above us. We didn't see the bullets, but we heard, and you can clearly hear a difference between an M4, M16/Tavor and a Kalashnikov. The
Really?
just a different sound.
Really? Like, what about it is different?
It's a lighter sound. Maybe because it's also not from 10 meters away. But
Mm.
you can hear that it's a different gun. I never shot a Kalashnikov, so I don't know how it is to shoot a Kalashnikov. But whenever a Kalashnikov is being shot, you can hear. Maybe it's the way they load the gun. Maybe it's the way I'm not sure, but we definitely heard and was definitely Kalach because afterwards we heard an M4 shooting or 16 and it's a different bullet. I'm not even sure how to explain it, but it's different.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, the fact that you could identify, but that so even there's a lot of talk about friendly fire, and soldiers
Yeah.
being killed by that. Do you think that that's also a way to differentiate between what each gun sounds like? In other words, if you hear a Kalachnik, no,
No, no, no, no, no. Unfortunately, 20 more than 20% of the casualties are from friendly fire. Um,
yeah,
and the sound is the same. Uh, we got shot at. My unit got shot at from a few times from the idea because when you're in Gaza and there's so much going on and so much adrenaline and so much stress going on there. So you see something and a soldier that isn't focused and didn't sleep last night it shoots. And so thank God nobody died from our unit from friendly fire, but we got shot at from our soldiers. Tanks shot so close to us that doors flew in the air and windows fell down and like the house just shaked, and the Air Force like bombed and it was like really next to us and everything like almost collapsed on us. But soldiers
oh my,
actually shot at the door where we were because they thought we were Hamas again. So you hear in the walkie-talkie, you hear in the Kesha that like stop shooting, friendly fire, and it's crazy. It's like something you even though you played Modern Warfare on Xbox, you play different war games, it looks like that, but it's real. It's like I remember they brought us to like this strip that was totally ruined, and it's like I think 2 kilometers, was very very narrow but so long, and you see like stores of like supermarkets. Totally, still you have chips there, Gaza chips and food, and you see like this place that sells vitamins for hair, and you just imagine that people were there like a month ago, 2 months ago, and now it's totally ruined, and everything is ruined, and you see donkeys coming out of buildings, and you see like ducks, and it's like it's crazy to imagine. You can't imagine. It's not like anything else you've seen in life, even though you can see so many war movies, you can play so many war games. It's hectic. It's like apocalypse. Like I would call it like end of the world. When you're
yeah,
there, you see how the end of the world looks like.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean, it does. I would imagine. Yeah, I've never been in war, but it does show how much how the world really is just organized by stories in our minds. Like, if the only thing that's keeping you and I and everyone else in Israel, any other civilized place, from killing each other are just we have laws, we have rules. We've sort of understood how things go, and then once all that goes to hell,
Mm-hmm.
then you I guess you just have what you saw in Gaza. But wait, so yeah, because I've never lived through this, but you had tanks shoot close to where you.
Yeah, like right, not at us, because if they would shoot at us, I would not be here to tell that. But shooting next to us, and it's like you see the fire coming out, and sometimes they don't even warn you that they're going to shoot.
You
So
saw you saw the shell
I saw,
fired.
you see the thing coming out, you see the fire coming out from, like, Gaza is very, 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 like, tsafuf,
Yeah,
very, like
concentrate.
overpopulated.
Mm.
But there are many open fields, I would say. But where we were, it was so concentrated that tanks were 7 meters away from me shooting. And just imagine this huge, this huge car shooting, and you see the fire coming out, and then you see the amount of smoke coming out of the house that it attacked. And when it's like so close to you, everything shakes. We were sleeping in a house where we were those a part of the soldiers that are taking away soldiers if they're injured. So we
Mm.
were sleeping, and one is guarding. So I remember like waking up at like 2 a.m. By having the window next to it flew away from the from the building, and everyone was like, "What happened?" It's like, did they attack the building? Because it feels like they're attacking your building when they're shooting so close to your building.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I've done so many arrests in my army, and I've seen so many Palestinian villages. But when I thought I saw everything, I didn't see anything. Seeing a war in first hand, and not like what you see on the news, because when you see on the news, it's like afterwards. When you're like with a unit that, like, our last village was Khir Bitzrera, was the village where Hamas went out of this village to attack Nir Oz. So, and then they brought the hostages back to this Arab place that we've been.
Yeah.
So we had this thing to conquer this village, and it was just it's crazy to see tanks like 2 meters away from you and shooting, and like, and having it in first hand, and seeing planes just right above you and shooting, and you see thousands of soldiers running together and doing it's crazy. It's nothing you can even imagine, and I wish nobody would see it. Wish nobody would have to see it, because war isn't fun. And until today, I see it in my when I sleep. So it's not
Really?
fun. Yeah, unfortunately. But it's not fun, and nobody should see war. And just thinking of the potential that Gaza has of building it into the Singapore of the Middle East, it's crazy. And just thinking of where does the money go.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's
I mean,
sad, and it's crazy, and it's, yeah, it's just, you can't, even if I try to explain it, until you're not there. And I'm not saying it to, as arrogant. I'm just saying it, if you don't see it in your own eyes, you won't understand what's going on there. You have to see it in your own eyes, see what's going on there, to actually understand and
what
comprehend.
what is that exactly? Because that's obvious. That's a common theme that goes back thousands of years. That people who experience war, they have trouble coming back into organized societies because it's just such a unique experience, or they feel like it's a unique experience, even though it's been going on forever. But what is it about what you saw that you feel like can't be expressed in words. It only has to be experienced, by experiencing yourself firsthand. What
Uh,
is it that you can't
I
really explain?
think I think it's a few things, but what pops up in my mind when I think about it is everything is broken, everything is ruined, everything you've seen Europe in 1945, where you see ruins, everything is ruined, and I always
Yeah.
ask myself, I wonder how it was to be in Europe of 1945. I wanted to be like a bug on the wall, just see everything, and now I see it. So whatever I wish to see, and just as a joke, to see what happened after everything was done in Europe, and now I see it. It's the exact same pictures, just 1945,
Mm.
2023, and 2024. And so this is, like we live in a normal city where everything is built, where we live our lives. But you spend your days also thinking of you can die, but you don't think about it actually because you can't live your life of thinking that you can die every moment.
Hmm.
But seeing everything ruined and everything broken, and seeing donkeys coming out, and seeing cats coming out, and dogs, trained dogs from Gaza. And this is something you can't explain. I mean, ask someone that survived the war to explain what he saw afterward. He can't explain, no matter how much he'll try to talk about it, and how much. I'm not talking about the gas. I'm talking about the war itself. The destroyed villages and everything being rebuilt. I think this is what shocked me the most. Um,
Yeah.
Everything was broken and ruined, and thinking what could have been here if Hamas wouldn't lead Gaza. So I think it's a
So
mix
so
of emotions.
I feel like it. If I, when I let my imagination sort of run loose and think about what's the real, like, the question here, the core of the issue. And you mentioned, on the one hand, everything's destroyed, and then on the other hand, like, it could have been Singapore. It could have been this wonderful place. And I had spoken to another soldier who just came out of reserve duty, and he said that they had the best beaches there, and even some of the buildings that they were in, some of the neighborhoods were, pretty decent, in decent shape. Like, Gaza's, he said that some areas are really nice. Um, and and the very fact that you get to see at war humanity stripped down to its essence, right? It's like, once you do away with civilization, here's what you get. I wonder sometimes if what is so hard to put your finger on about war is, like, there's something almost religious about it, where it's like, these are the consequences of good and evil, right? Like, when you're back in the real world, you've got more or less good people running the show there, but when it's evil, right, and people are driven by hatred, these are the consequences, right?
Hmm.
And Hitler was the same thing, right? Like, Europe was in rubble, essentially, after he was done with his life's work. And it's a pattern that continues to repeat itself. And the travesty is, of course, that people buy into it, right? Like, even right now, with all the destruction that's come about from Hamas on October 7th, they're really popular in the West Bank, and I don't know how popular they are in Gaza, but who knows? How can you really conduct a poll in a place that's been leveled? But there's something about that hate, really, that is so self-destructive, right? And so blindingly obvious, right? That this just continues to happen, and it's not a useful strategy on the individual level, right? If, like, for example, when I asked you what you were feeling on when you were heading towards war, and I said, were you full of hate? Like, how do you prepare your mind for that stuff? And you said, no, like, I'm on drive, I'm on D, I'm doing my thing, I'm proud. Even you said, like, even that is an expression of love, right? It's like, this is my family, I'm protecting my people, and all that. It that's the difference in my mind. Um, that makes all the difference. It's not about politics. It's not about anything. It's really just about your orientation towards the world and towards life. Do you celebrate it, or do you hate it?
Uh-huh.
Because if you hate other people, it's usually almost always a projection of what you feel towards yourself. And if you scale that up to enough people, you don't be surprised when when the donkeys and the dogs are walking around and everything is in rubble.
Yeah. We could easily
Um,
live side by side, and
yeah,
Israel is never attacking on its own. We only attack when our existence is in danger, and it's so sad. Yeah, it's like, why can't the world live side by side? Nobody's attacking anyone, and it's sad. And I wish that the world would be different, but unfortunately, it isn't.
but there's if I'm trying to put myself in a support of Hamas, like in their shoes, it's much easier, much easier. In the end, it's way worse, but and history bears this out. But it's in your mind, it's easier to destroy, to criticize, to say, "Oh, that they're evil," right? Those Israelis, rather than to work on yourself and say, "Okay, everything we've tried thus far has been a catastrophe, and our situation continues to deteriorate. We lose more land, we lose more support from the Arab world and the world in general. People are sick and tired of us. Perhaps we should start looking at ourselves and thinking, there's quite a lot of corruption in our society. You know, we're wasting a lot of talent. And think about these tunnels, for example. It never ceases to amaze me that the knowledge and the work that they put into it could have been, you know, like for example, Elon Musk has the boring company where they bore big holes in the ground, and I think the idea there is to alleviate traffic. My God,
Hmm.
if you had just put that labor and that planning under his control, say, or someone like that, the Palestinian version, you would get your Singapore, no doubt
Hmm.
about it. But instead, it's a war machine, and it's so destructive, and it has such destructive consequences. And the worst part about it is again, it's so bad for the Palestinians, right? The Israelis are more or less fine, right?
Yeah,
If you come back to Israel and you see that things are more or less back to normal, there it's really really not. Like from what they say, it's what on the verge of famine. I don't know how reliable those reports are. Did you have any contact at all with the civilian population in Gaza?
no, we haven't seen any civil population there.
No.
But adding to what you said before, we saw educational books. We found educational because we um, conquered schools that were shooting at us and everything. So
What
we
were in
saw
those books?
hate against Jews, hate against soldiers and how to hold a gun. I saw it in my own eyes, and like how to hold a gun, how to hate Israel, how to kill Jew, and this is what they teach their kids. And it's like telling the Nazis, all right, just what, you want a world, but don't hate the Jews. No, it's like in their blood, in their DNA. So it's in their DNA to kill and destroy every Jew, every Israeli living here, and they won't stop until they did it. And that's why you can't talk to them, you can negotiate with them, you can't do anything with them because it's within their DNA. And you saw what happened whenever they saw a small, whenever they did a small hole in the wall and in the fence, and they did what they did to us. And if they could have done it to each and every Israeli, they would do it because it's within their DNA, and that's why they have to be eliminated from the world and not like negotiated and talked with them because it'll happen again. Like no, like it'll happen again. And that's why they have to be eliminated and be destroyed and be just get rid of them and put someone else there, and put someone that you can actually work with and talk with and negotiate with and maybe live side by side because there's really no other option.
Yeah. And also, I mean, think about it. If Israelis had leadership that brought this level of destruction into their homes, or any people, right? Americans, Belgians, who cares? There's just no way that they would rise in popularity. Like, what are you people doing? You guys are so irresponsible and reckless and horrible. What? Go away. But no, these guys get rewarded. It makes no sense. It makes
Yeah,
no sense
indeed.
other than other than there's this self-destructive hatred that needs to be fueled, and there's only one history has shown again and again that the only people that suffer are the ones who fill their hearts with this kind of crap. But
Yeah.
when you saw those, what exactly did you see in those textbooks? I mean, do you
It's
read
in
Arabic?
Arabic. No, it's in Arabic, so I didn't really understand what I was reading, but I saw pictures, I saw pictures, and pictures are worth more than 1,000 words, as they say.
Yeah.
And you see, like, holding guns and, aiming at someone that is dressed up like an Israeli soldier. So you would understand that it's some of us knew Arabic, so they explained what they
Okay.
saw for the words or something like that. But it's like
Crazy.
hatred against Israel, hatred against Jews,
It's crazy.
and kill the Jews. And this is what they're grown up to. And I don't buy that they're like, oh, Hamas should be eliminated or whatever. As I saw an Instagram post of Itan Reichel that said that, did you see it? That
No.
from Gaza, he doesn't believe that they're innocent Gazan people because nobody actually stands up against Hamas. And, it could cause them casualties and stuff, but nobody of them goes up and stands up against Hamas and gets them away and gets back. Because it will stop when the hostages are back. It will stop. The whole situation is done when we get the 130 something hostages back to Israel and Hamas is gone. So it's super simple. It'll cost lives, but it's easy. It's not like, okay, we don't know what to do. We know what to do, but it'll take time because we want to get the mission done. We're going to get back the hostages and eliminate Hamas. So until people in Gaza won't stand up against Hamas publicly, even though they know that some of them will get shot, but until they won't show the world that they're actually against Hamas and they actually want the hostages to be back home, it doesn't exist innocent people in Gaza. Because if it will happen in Israel, people in Israel would say, stop what you're doing, it's not fine, get them back or whatever.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, I do believe that there are some innocent people, but nobody of them are standing up and says, stop what you're doing, bring back the hostages. So until this doesn't happen, so there's no end to this whole situation, and people in Gaza are
Yeah.
just as terrorists.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy about the whole thing is that, look, they're human beings, right? So the dumbest thing that anyone can do is to think that they're somehow, what pissed me off in the beginning, among the many things that pissed me off, was you know people referring to Hamas or just people in Gaza as animals, or things like this. It's like, no, 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 no. These are people just like me and you, and what makes you think that if you were in any of their shoes that you wouldn't have acted differently? It's very rare to find. In fact, it's impossible at the moment to find a person who stands up to Hamas and says, "Enough of you guys." It doesn't exist. And so I don't think that's a reflection of their cowardice more than just how rare that kind of person is. I mean, which in other words is like, if you and I were in over there, most likely we would be part of the system, not against it. But it's it's um it's just how strong that system is. It pervades every aspect of society.
That is
It's
also that is true.
what's that?
No,
Yeah, yeah.
that's true.
And innocent. I don't know what that means. You know, how do you?
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an
Yeah.
example. Let's see the situation in Libya back
Hmm.
in the Arab Spring, 2011, I think it was.
Hmm. Hmm.
They were sick and tired of their government, and they wanted to get him away. And they did what they did. And yes, I think many of them died because they were shot at by this. It happened in Libya. It happened in Tunisia. I think it happened in different Arab things. So it's hard because the society in Gaza is so depressed by Hamas and stuff. But at the end of the day, if they really would want to, and that's what I think, we can disagree, but if they would want to actually rise and put an end, they would do it. They would come and massively and just bring everyone and stop, because so many other lives will be taken away, innocent lives, and I'm pretty sure that they wanted to get back their lives and not sleep in tents anymore in Rafah and go back to their home. And there is just rise up and just show your vote and just finish like your brothers in Lebanon, in Libya, in Tunisia, and all those other Arab countries, what they did. And I believe, and this we can disagree, but I believe that if this would happen, then the end of the war would be much faster, because until it doesn't
Absolutely.
happen, it will take months. I just read this morning that Hamas is far away from being destroyed, and it will
Hmm.
take months for us to finish the thing. And nobody wants to continue fighting for months. Not soldiers, Israeli soldiers, not civilians in Gaza. Nobody wants this life. People want to go back to their lives and back to their families. And it has to happen, And I believe, honestly, it'll happen sooner or later, that they will rise up and speak against. I just wish it will happen before more people will die, because it's sad to see people die from both sides. It's sad. We're human beings. You know, and but we didn't ask for this war. Nobody asked for this war from the side from Israel. We're doing this because we don't want 7th of October to happen again in a
Right.
few years. And I wish someone would do it. And I wish this war
You
to
know,
be over, so
it-
we cannot be called back to our units.
I come back to the fundamental point, but because take another historical example of Iraq and Saddam Hussein. That guy was he was a psychopath, and he employed very similar tactics to what Hamas had done to its population, and he was overthrown, which should have been a wonderful thing. In fact, it was a wonderful thing. But then what came in its place was just more chaos, because still you have that underlying resentment towards the West, or whatever horrible ideas are being thrown around. So even though there were plenty of Iraqis who said, "Thank God this maniac is gone and he's not in control of our lives anymore," you had other maniacs come in and produce way more chaos than before. And so there's always that danger, even with Gaza or just the Palestinians in general, that if you take the lid off, um, that society, that more chaos won't come in. But I do agree with you that at the end of the day, the most the surest way to end this war is for 1, 10, 100 people to rise up within their society and say, enough of this, enough destruction, enough envy, enough hate. Let's build. Let's take what we have. Let's be grateful for it, and then let's move forward and try to build wonderful lives for everyone that's in our community.
Yep.
And that's the most. I mean, it's built out of self-respect, right? It's like, no, no, no. We have one life. We have children who we love, and we are going to do everything in our power to make the best of what we got, right? And not focus all of our energies on, trying to dehumanize Israelis, right? Or Jews or whoever it may be. Such a waste of life. Such a waste. Um, what do you do at home? How do you teach your kids? Because this is, I know you're
Um,
3 and 1, but
they're young. They're still young. But I guess, we overlove them. That's how I call it.
but I
I
mean,
mean, my
as in regards to this thing of what, your 3-year-old is too young, but do you and your wife talk about what you want to teach your kids about? I don't know,
I don't
Palestine.
think we're there yet. I don't think we're there. I think we're now training our kid to sleep in her own bed, in her not in her. I think this is what we're uh focusing our efforts on, for her not to come to her bed at night. And it works really well. So I guess when we'll pass this, I guess we'll be free to talk about other things. Because she doesn't see the news. I mean, if there would be, thank God, Netanya is out of the rockets. I mean, no alarm
Yeah,
were launched in Netanya. So I don't
yeah,
have to explain her what an alarm is and why we are running to the shelter. So thank God I'm not there. But I think I would just I don't play a game or something. Not I, the last thing I want it to be is for her to be stressed or to understand because it'll happen when she'll grow up. We'll have different kind of situations here in Israel where she'll have to learn, and we'll have to teach her. I don't know how we will do it because we're not there yet. As I said, I guess we'll have to think about it in a few months or
yeah,
a few years.
yeah. No, I had to tell my two oldest. So I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old,
Oh wow,
and
that's
all boys, by the way. So my wife is nervous about the future and sending our kids to the army and all that. Um, but yeah, I had to tell them that we're at war. The 5-year-old kind of, I don't know, took it in stride. He actually thinks that the what do you call it, the alarms for incoming rockets. He says he thinks it's kind of fun. So it's like a little game that he has to like run into the safe room and stuff. But
yeah,
the 7-year-old, you know, at some point he it's kind of heartbreaking, but he's good at math. He likes math, and he asked me like, "What? When do you go into the army? At what age?" And I said 18, and then he started doing the calculation how much time he has left until he has to become a soldier.
mm,
And that's I don't know what to make of that. Is that good? Is that healthy? Is that robbing my child of his innocence before it's necessary? I don't know. I don't know that there's too many thoughts there. 'Cause on the one hand, uh, if you keep your kids sheltered and in a bubble, when the world smacks them in the face, it's going to take them a while to understand that the world is unfair and chaotic and doesn't always go the way you want. And
yeah,
sometimes you just have to do really hard and tough things to get somewhere to
yeah.
protect what's good. But on the other hand, you know, he's 7, and I wish he could just play soccer all day long or whatever the hell he wants to do or dream
But
about.
still, it goes back to what I said in the beginning. Israel is the safest place for Jews. Even if we have to go to the army, at least we have our army protecting us.
Yeah,
'Cause,
yeah,
but I still think, and even though there will be rockets every day, if there will be rockets, I would still say that Israel is the safest country because we are the difference between Israel and the world. We are our own masters of our own future. You know,
yeah,
while abroad, we're dependent on on others. Um, So this is why I would never go live back in another country, and why I would stay here. Worst case, relocate for a year or two to make some money and then come back. That's worst case. But living in Israel in Meghalaya is one of the best decisions I've made, and I'm happy that my parents followed me. And my wife is also came from abroad, so we're like a family of immigrants, I would call it.
yeah. All right, man. Well, let's leave it on that positive note,
Yeah,
um, because you're right. You're really right, and you're right. All right,
yeah.
brother.
Whew.
Well, good talking to you, man.
You too, Kobe. It was nice seeing you again. And it was
Yeah,
so many years ago, I totally forgot where and when, so my excuses. But it was good to seeing you again. And I hope we can chat again in the future. And
sounds good, brother. And
only
and
good news.
and and of course, I would be remiss. Thank you for your sacrifices, man. It's no small thing. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, one last thing about that. I like so many people say thank you, and I say it was my duty. It was what I had to do. So I thank you for thinking, but I don't really know how to respond to someone who says thank you for something I had to do. Um, so it's like when my daughter says, "Thank you for giving me a cup," I'm like, "It's what I do." But anyways, it's also something I'm thinking about, how to respond to someone who says thank you for army service. And it's like, you don't have, I have to thank you for contributing to to the economy and for living here while I'm doing it. So I think it's a thank you. Both parties thank each other for living life and continuing our lives like nothing happened. And for me, I mean, doing what I did. So
I think it's a perfect response.
awesome, cool. Kobe,
Yeah,
thank you
man.
for having me. It was my pleasure, and have a good week.
See you, man.
See you. Bye bye.